welcome back to No Tears Frontiers Diaries. Yesterday was a pretty important and momentous day for us. We took the motorcycle to the airport to have it crated up so that it could be flown from here in Uganda to Chicago, our home. And it's always difficult to say goodbye to the motorcycle. But on top of that, it was also a very long and taxing day, so just physically and emotionally, it was a bit difficult.
We're giving my motorcycle away into the good hands of other people. The motorcycle has value to me as well as, as an asset. And then there's financial obligations as well. So, when in crunch time like that, things can get a little bit stressful, but thankfully we found a pretty good contact.
You need a clearing agent to do something like this. And he was great.
My tools under the
Show your pass. That's cool.
V for victory.
He was really helpful, really kind, very, very nice.
So in the morning we had to pack up the bike in a special way, not like our normal packing up.
Yeah.
No batteries, no super glue, things that we always carry with us, like JB Weld, to make sure you don't have any of that on the plane.
Well, and the biggest thing is that we've over the course of the entire time we've been on the continent, we wear certain items and then certain items are stowed, and those items are always with us. But now to send all the heavy stuff, because you pay by volumetric weight, not by actual weight. So
so it all depends on how big the crate is around the motorcycle.
The dimensions of the crate, or whichever one's bigger, but unless you're shipping a crate full of bowling balls, it's going to be the volumetric weight, which will cost you a little more. But we put in our motorcycle boots, we put in our helmets, we put in both of our pants. Marissa put in her jacket.
All of our camping gear, of course.
All of the camping gear, which is a constant, but on top of those constants were, the things that just took up a lot of space that usually were on us.
Yeah, so it was a little tricky doing this kind of different packing to make sure that everything was going to be all right for the motorcycle to fly. And we hit the road in the morning.
Kitatsiranya ataiminga minga kwelira ukalya wame atachala mali batachika neno munyere wetu yo munyere mwenge tata tuungane mukano tushanga inchi yetu Kivu yetu ya kaskazini vita kila siku yuli bukhwana enza huki imulatala mufumurai tushanga inchi yetu tuwache ukabila.
We didn't leave too early. I was under the assumption, and assumptions always get you in the end, but I was under the assumption that it would take 2 or 3 hours to build this crate, and then it would take 2 hours for all the official paperwork to be scanned and to be out, so a 5-hour day. So I wasn't in that huge of a hurry. I did want to get everything done because the sooner that weight is lifted off, that I can relax a little. But it ended up taking
11 hours total?
Yeah, we got there at 11 and we got home around 9. So
no, we got home around 11:30 at night. But it takes an hour to get there and an hour to get back. So the airport is in an area called Entebbe, which is actually really cool. It's like a peninsula that sticks into Lake Victoria, and we'd never been there before. So it was nice to see the views of Lake Victoria all around.
Yeah.
And when we were taking the road there, we kind of got onto this one dirt road, and I thought, this cannot be the road to the airport. How is this the main way? But it wasn't. We eventually stumbled upon this new highway that's going to be a toll road, and it's the first toll road we've seen in Africa in a very long time. Yeah, it's really, really nice. So that was a nice surprise. We got to just fly down that new highway straight to the airport. did kind of underestimate the amount of time that it was going to take.
Everybody was very friendly. There was a gentleman named Robert, and our agent was Godfrey. And, you know, it can be a stressful time.
Yeah.
But everybody was very calm, cool, and collective. But we have to get used to the way things that are done here. So the people who built the crate actually showed up without crate material or tools or
Yeah, they didn't have any straps.
So they're like, oh, we need to send somebody back to Kampala to get the straps. And it was like,
So that's 2 more hours of just
of
sending
going
someone
there,
back.
coming back. But we're doing measurements, and I know that there's nothing more frustrating than somebody who's never done what you're doing, leaning over your shoulder and saying, no, do it this way, do it this way. And that's kind of what I did, only because we are paying for volumetric weight.
Right.
And if they start adding in grace room on the left or right, or, you know, from length to
Yeah.
the width of it to the height of it, you know, every centimeter I'm paying, I think it's $7 per volumetric kilo.
Yes, and that all depends on how big
$7.50.
the crate is. Now, this is the 3rd time that we've flown our motorcycle across an ocean or a continent.
No.
And the first time in Argentina, we didn't
just
have to
wrapped
crate
it.
it. Yeah, they just saran wrapped it, which was really excellent.
And
so
you save
that
a lot of
goes
money
a different
because,
pricing.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But from here and to Africa as well, we've had to crate it, which is nice because it does protect all of your gear and kind of loose ends within the crate itself. You know that
But at a
nothing's going to
cost.
happen to it, but yes, it adds cost.
And saran wrap, I mean, they
Do a good job with that.
To try to steal something off of there, you gotta be, you know, it's almost impossible.
So for sure, I would rather it be palleted and just saran wrapped, but they needed the crate this
Yeah.
time, so you do pay by exactly how big that crate is.
It's fine.
Fine. Good job, people.
I don't know centimeters very well. I don't even have a tape measure. I could have gone out and bought one, I'm sure. But like I couldn't weigh the bike itself. But I reached out to Moto Freight in Heathrow, and a gentleman named Roddy, who was they transferred it from London to South Africa when we shipped it out of Montreal. And
He was so great.
So like he had nothing to do with this next transaction, but he was like, "Oh yeah, Tim, no Tito, yeah, we follow you, and totally, and I can get you the exact weights and the crate dimension." And in Africa, we've got it down to a refined science. This is what Roddy with Motor Freight's telling me, and he got it down to these exact dimensions. But people building a crate here probably wouldn't be able to meet their
I mean, here's
skill
the
level.
thing. They don't do it that often. They're just building a crate. They don't care how big it is, right? It's on our end that we end up paying for how big the crate is. But to be honest, if they're not told you have to make it super, super small, they're just going to build a crate. And that's what they do.
And a lot of times when you need a doghouse, they build a barn, and that, you know.
That's the problem, yeah.
And if the material cost doesn't change, but putting it on a plane sure does.
So you really stepped in there and oversaw everything. I wasn't
Yeah.
allowed in.
No, I had my little visitor's pass that I had to trade my passport in.
Yeah, you know, this is like the cargo area of the airport, so only certain personnel are allowed into that area. So I had to stand behind a fence and watch.
Which
but
was
that's okay.
right. I mean, she was 15 feet away from the
Yeah.
motorcycle. So, you know, I thought I'd be able to tell them dimensions, they would confirm the dimensions, and then they start building everything accordingly. And, you know, a team of efficiency, you know. And they were efficient, and they were a team, and they were very awesome. But as the hours ticked by, I
It
felt the
took a
need
long
to.
time.
I felt the need to help nail some stuff in and saw some of the pieces of wood sticking out. They recycle just about everything. So the pallets were recycled. It's not like they actually built pallets. They just cut them to size.
Yeah, this was part of what took so long. Is
Yeah.
they were recycling all of their materials.
The nails just looked like witches' fingers. And
Used
every
nails.
time, every one of them, each one is just, you know, this
But
crazy.
that is great. You know, it's
It
great to
is-
be so resourceful and reusing
Yes.
everything.
100%. And part of me felt like, you know, I'm paying a pretty hefty price for this crate. It would be nice if there were new nails, you know. And in South America, like when they were putting the pallet together, they used screws and they had, you know, electric drills. And when we unpalleted the bike in South Africa, again, everything was screws. It's just a better, more convenient way to suck everything together, because nails, you know, there's nothing that is locking them in except for, you know, pressure.
But they literally built this crate by hand,
Piece by piece, cut by cut.
without
Bent
any
nail
electric tools.
by bent nail.
Hand saw, no nail gun.
Hammerheads that were welded onto pipe handles.
It was really remarkable. And you know, there is kind of this reputation that things coming from poorer countries are not built as well as from other countries. But you know what? These guys did a really good job.
Yeah.
And it was real quality. For what they had, they really listened to you. And they had a positive attitude about everything.
Yeah.
They didn't mind that Tim was like, make it small, you know, oh, do
Yeah.
this, do that.
They asked me, they said, so you've seen people make crates before and ship the bike? And I said, yeah. You know, they said, do they use the same tools as us? And I said, they have hammers, you know. But they were hard workers.
Yeah,
But-
really hard workers.
And we got there at 11 and the sun was high. I got a sunburn.
I think they built that crate for 8 hours.
8 hours.
Straight, no
Insane.
breaks.
No breaks.
Yeah.
You know, and I sat there and I helped, and it was fun. It was fun to be part of the team because we were joking back and forth and telling funny stories. And
Yeah, they were really great.
yeah.
Old thing, that is me. I'm cheap. Yes.
Go and travel to Africa when they are poor.
I have a wife.
Yeah?
If you're married, all your money goes away.
She also knows that.
Yes, she knows that very well.
They kept asking you, does KFC in America taste
Tastes like the KFC here. It's a secret.
Like, yes, it
secret
does.
ingredient. But
To their great pleasure. Yeah, they were really great guys, and they did build a crate that was perfectly to the dimensions.
it got it. Roddy said that no one would be able to make it as small as their team has, and they
And they did.
did.
They were off by 1 volumetric kilo.
Yeah.
But I mean, they made that crate perfectly.
Yeah.
So we were really impressed, and it was worth all the time and effort
And
that
then
it took there.
They picked it up. Now the sun has gone down
Yeah.
after this full day of just labor, and they take it to the little where they put it in to do an X-ray of it. And I was part of the crew at this point. Like, you know, like
Yeah,
everybody
you
knew
were.
me. It was so cool. And I found myself in certain areas where I most likely probably shouldn't have been, but it was cool to look behind the scenes, behind the curtains.
Yeah.
And so I'm where they push the bike in to weigh it first and then push it over here and suck it back into an X-ray machine. And it's just this roller rink. Because again, it's no like electric conveyor belts. It's just all these rolling pins, and you push something. If it weighs 3 tons, you push it on these things. But it was really cool to be behind those scenes. It was cool because when it went into the X-ray machine, I think we've all seen at like airports, kind of like how that it looks when they scan it. But a motorcycle inside a pallet with all my
That's
tools
pretty
sticking out,
cool.
and, you know, my rim. And then they had like a colorized version of this 3D mapped image X-ray.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there. I knew I probably shouldn't be in there. Footage
they
that no one
seemed
seemed to
totally
care
cool
about.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So that
very
was a really
interesting process.
interesting opportunity to be
Yeah.
able to kind of go behind the scenes and see what happens to the motorcycle. Because, I mean, even the idea of flying a motorcycle is kind of crazy. I mean, people were not doing this until recently. It's become more and more of a popular way of shipping motorcycles. People still do create their motorcycles and ship it by sea.
I would
lot of the
say
time.
no. The majority of people fly it.
Oh, really?
It's almost the same cost and
Yeah.
at 1/10 of the time. And
Yeah, and you get it right away.
Yeah.
We do have to time things perfectly so that we arrive in Chicago just right before the motorcycle arrives so that Tim can pick it up at the airport.
But it's definitely the more convenient. I mean, if you
Definitely.
yeah, if you were going from North America to Europe, would you want to fly or do you want to go on a boat? You know?
The other thing is, I've heard quite a few horror stories of people shipping their motorcycles by sea, and then it takes an extra month, an extra 2 months more than they thought it was going to take,
Yeah.
and then they get charged all of these extra fees at the end because
Well, or it's
it
just
depends on who you're
time.
dealing with.
Yeah,
But
I-
they know you're going to pay whatever for
Yeah.
that motorcycle.
You know, if you're going to be in Europe on May 15th, you want your bike in Europe in a
Yeah, not in
5-day
July.
window, not a 5-week window. So,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
But
things worked out.
things
pretty
worked
well.
out. It's now in the cargo loading area waiting to be flown out.
Yep, and soon we'll be flying out as well.
Yeah, this was our, like Marissa said, the third time we've packed it up and said goodbye to it. But
It's never easy.
it's never easy. But one more shout out to Roddy and the team over
Yeah.
at Moto Freight, because even though they had no financial benefit of helping us out by digging up old quotes and letting us know crate sizes and finding out what the weight was, they really assisted in trying to get some really good, useful information to the people. It was just easy to say to them, be like, look, this has happened before and this is what they did it at. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to duplicate this. So this is our goal.
That helped us out so much. And a shout out to all the people here in Uganda who they just did such a wonderful job. We're super pleased with it, and fingers crossed everything goes okay to Chicago. Well, thank you for watching this. If you enjoyed it, please give us a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. And we will be seeing you next time, hopefully soon enough, with a motorcycle.
Indeed.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Bye. Stay safe.